They ask me all the time, Adam. I tell them it's buff time, baby. It's buff time. Oh, I say Adam. Brian, what's happening, Brian? We were just talking about Adam pre-show,
Yeah,
and now I call you Adam. Brian and Chico, we're here. Buff Time Podcast once again. Premium Primetime Buff Talk. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Happy late Father's Day once again, and we were able to, have a good time with the kids over the weekend. Hope all the fathers out there spend some time with their kids. How was your weekend?
It was good. I was telling you a lot of baseball. My son just turned 14 a week or two ago, and
Okay.
so he made the high school summer league team, the younger team for the high school team. He's going to be a freshman, and a lot of baseball. It's been like 5 doubleheaders in the last 9 days, and so he had a doubleheader on Saturday, a doubleheader on Sunday, and so. And it's been hot out here, so but we spent our weekend basically at the baseball field. So,
Oh yeah.
which I don't mind that, but it's still, that's a lot of baseball when you're sitting in the stands as a parent. I'm used to coaching him,
Yeah.
but now I'm doing the parent thing this season. So that's a lot of baseball, but it was fun. How
You gotta
about
have
you?
you gotta have your sunblock, your nice relaxing chair, and an umbrella. To
That's right.
stay out there. I haven't reached those baseball, softball times yet, as my son's not reached that age yet. But my two daughters, well, my youngest daughter had a birthday this weekend, which fell on Father's Day, so I was able to take them out, her and
Mhm.
my other daughter and their friend, and they had a good time over the weekend. Kept me out running and sweating in the sun, also. So it was a good time with them, but I'm looking forward to those baseball days too. Because when I played baseball, which was my favorite sport back in the day, I used to love those double headers, hot
Yeah.
or not. I was all for it.
Yeah. Well, the kids love it in some respects. I mean, it gets pretty hot out there, and they were kind of what I like about it as a parent is he was wiped out by the end, and
Yeah,
didn't want to do a whole lot afterwards. And was like, "Yeah, I'm good, Dad." I mean, he went to bed early both those nights, was a little wiped out, and so I like that.
yeah, that's the best thing. They get in the car and go to sleep, be ready to knock out, take a shower and get into bed. That's what I'm
That's
talking
right.
about.
That's right.
All right. So both had great weekends. Hope everybody
Yeah.
had a great weekend out there. Make sure you get in the chats and let us know where you're checking in from, how you're checking in, what you did over the weekend, and what are some topics that maybe we need to talk about, because Brian and I haven't been together doing this for maybe about a week and a half, a couple of weeks now, but we're in the summertime, and we're going to try to continue to bring you Buff Time podcast each and every week and keep you updated with some premium primetime Buff talk as Brian is there in Colorado. Any news and updates coming from there as we see the team posting, still going through the summer workouts. Of course, I have on the thumbnail why they hate the Buffs and Coach Prime, and we'll get into the article and the things of that nature that the team had to refute pretty much and downplay on and dispel those rumors about what they've been doing. So tell us what's going on there from your end, your perspective.
Well, first off, I want to let our viewers know that you and I are going to be doing this more frequently as we get into fall camp and stuff. It's hard sometimes in the summer with all the things we have going on, vacations, and there's not a lot of news, and so we'll be more frequent once we get into the season. So
Right.
just let you viewers know that. But yeah, not a lot going on locally. I did have a chance. This is not news, but I didn't talk to you about this, but last weekend, the previous weekend before Father's Day, about a mile from my house is a place called Truck Ranch, and they've gifted
Oh
all the
yeah.
Sanders boys, some trucks, and so they actually had their grand opening, and Shadur and Shiloh and Bucky were out there, doing some autographs and photos, and so I went out there and hung out with them for a little bit, and it was great to see them and chatted briefly with Shadur. Didn't do interviews, but chatted briefly with Shadur and Shiloh. And they're doing well, and so it was good to see them. Tons of fans showed up. I say tons. It wasn't like overly publicized, but there was several hundred fans that showed up to get pictures and autographs, and so. But it was good to see them, and they both look good, and obviously getting ready for the season. We know Shiloh. The report is that shoulder, right? But he looked good, at least as he's signing autographs and things like that.
Yeah. So the Truck Ranch is a new location, a new business out there in Colorado, and
Yeah,
from what I've seen, it looked like they were, finding a way to promote their business or to get people out there,
yeah,
or and they, I guess, hired or contracted Deion Sanders Jr., Shiloh, and Shadur to come make an appearance and sign autographs and things of that nature, shake hands, kind of like a meet and greet
Yep.
for. And I would say that honestly, if they've really publicized it, I would have think a lot more people would have been there. I'm kind of thinking that it was more of just like a special type of group that maybe they had there. They probably didn't want the whole public there. I don't know. It just looked
Well, it
like it was
was
more intimate.
Yeah, it was. There was a couple people that I know because it was the truck ranch is located a mile from my house, and so the new location. So there was a couple people I know that really had no connection. They just found out about it and went over there. So it wasn't
Yeah.
super publicized, but I think like Bucky, I think put out a tweet the day before, "Come see us at Truck
Yeah.
Ranch," and so that's always a lot of fans are going to see that. So I don't think they wanted a ton of people there. I mean, Shadur was there longer than Shiloh. And he was signing autographs and taking photos with people for, a good solid hour plus, so hour 15. And so they probably didn't want to do it much longer than that.
Yeah.
Their trucks were there. They looked pretty sweet. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Chico, but
Yeah.
the legendary truck that
Yes.
Shadur has is pretty sweet. Shiloh's was souped up. He was actually talking to the guy from Truck Ranch about, I want some more gold highlights here and here and here. And so I think
Right.
his is going to be souped up a little bit more. But they were pretty cool looking trucks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think they do custom work on
Oh,
the
yeah.
trucks also. So, wow, that's neat right there, man. Hey, I'll do my show from the truck if hey, in the sponsorship offers, I'll do my show from the truck. You feel me? So, yeah,
Yeah.
those graphics and little extras on there, like the legendary or the well-off sign, or Shiloh's going to get his probably a headache CEO sign or something like that.
Yeah.
Those logos on there, that's custom made stuff, and the accents and things. I think that just sets off the truck and make it more customizable, or more customized than any other vehicle you'll see out on the road, and you'll know that it's there as soon as you see it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty sweet. Like when I walked up, you could tell immediately which one was Shador's because it had the green
Right.
legendary on the side of the truck, and so it was pretty cool to see the trucks and see the guys in that setting. And actually the Buffs locker room DJ was there as well because they had free barbecue for everybody, and so they had music going. I mean, they had everything. So it was a pretty cool event.
Shout out DJ Fedora.
That's right.
My guy. All right. In the locker room, keeping it up tempo and things of that nature. But yeah, man, another great event out there, and good exposure for the truck ranch with the Sanders brothers, should I say, Shiloh, Deion Jr. and Shadur. And I'm sure the fans out there were able to shake their hands and get a meet and greet. They were happy to do that in that capacity, other than seeing them on the football field or through the TV screen and that such. So check it out on Well Off Media. Y'all can find that there. Any questions, comments, y'all put it in the chat. Y'all could join the conversation right now, as it is summertime, kind of slow on the news. So we're talking about any and everything for the next probably 20 or so minutes. So get in the comments in the chat. Let us know what's going on. We will talk about I guess we can go ahead and get into the article that was put out, I guess, talking about, and I'll just paraphrase it, saying that, during the primetime weekend when Lil Wayne was here for the concert that Coach Prime had and the team, that they're saying that it was reported that it was mandatory for the players to be there at the concert. And then you see the guys on the video today saying, hey man, Bucky going up to Jimmy Horn Jr. Hey, did you go to the concert? Jimmy like, no, I didn't attend. But he's still there, so there's no consequence. Like they're dispelling it right there, saying that that's not true, man. It doesn't even sound like it should be true, or it could be true in a college setting for a coach to tell you guys, make sure y'all attend the concert.
Right.
When you saw that, what did you see or what you feel? Did you call anybody, or did you just automatically say, man, I don't believe this?
Yeah, well, I will say, by the time I saw it, I think it was after one of my double headers with my son, so it'd been out there for a little bit, and my initial thought was, there's no way that was mandatory, and there was already stuff out that's saying no, that's not true. I mean, Camden Dempsey, who has been dubbed the governor, the governor of CU football, had already posted that that's not true at all. So certainly that wasn't surprising that that they dispelled that pretty quickly, because that seems like a pretty ridiculous. But it's amazing to me, this goes to the bigger deal, and you and I have talked about it before, but it's amazing how many former players people try to talk to find out what's going on at Colorado. And of course, the guys that left here, a lot of them, maybe they weren't going to make the team, that they're not going to have a great feeling about Colorado because they weren't going to play here. And so I think you can find that everywhere. But I've never seen a situation like this where players that were formerly on the team are interviewed so much. They care more about players that aren't on the team anymore than ones that are.
I think people are just trying to get any type of content, comment, or something about Coach Prime and CU as they can. Speaking of can, get you a white cocoa if you haven't already as I open this up. But shameless plug. But yeah, I think they just make up anything, man. Slow, like they said in the comments right here, slow news means for fake news from outsiders. And I think that's just the case right there, man. People are going to come up with anything just to get in the news.
Yeah, for sure. And we see that more with Coach Prime's buffs than any other CU team I've covered, but probably any other team, period. You probably see some of that stuff with, like, when the Yankees were in their heyday, and the big name teams like that, and CU's just getting their taste of it under Coach Prime. But yeah, it certainly didn't surprise me that was dispelled pretty quickly, because it seemed fairly ridiculous that he would mandate that they be at that concert.
Silly. But and then Shadur and them said they didn't even realize that they were going to actually perform. So why would they try to make, just crazy rumors, crazy stuff out there in the news. Just wanted to make sure we cover that and put it out there, and put our thoughts on it, and let everybody know that, man, that's silly. And we're not even giving a real 2 cents about it. But Skin to Win chimed in and said, would be interested to know both of your thoughts on BJ Green. He's clearly a great talent, but there's some old film of him dogging it and not finishing plays. Has he been hustling so far at CU?
Yeah, it seems like it. There was that Well Off video. I think it was Well Off or Reach the People. I think it was Well Off, though, where they asked Warren Sapp, "What do you think of BJ Green?" And he just raved about him and said, I didn't know who he was, and I got here and was like, "Ooh, that guy can play." And clearly they don't have the pads on yet, but honestly, I think I've told you, I've mentioned this in a video before. BJ Green, I think, is one of my favorite transfers this offseason. I think he's top 2 or 3 among the transfers they added this year as far as the impact I think he can make. I loved him at Arizona State. I thought he was a really good player, a former walk-on there that made a name for himself, and I think he's going to be a really good player here. And I'm not sure he's going to have time to dog it, because I think they got a good rotation at defensive line to where he's going to get some breathers, and then he's going to get in there fresh and be able to make some plays when he's fresh. And so I'm not sure what their depth was like at ASU, but I like the depth here, and I think that when he's in there, he's going to be fresh and he can make plays.
Brian, you hit it on the head, dog. You hit it on the head right there as fact from what I was going to say. And let me bring this comment back up, because it says there's some old film of him dogging it and not finishing plays. I would say to that, you can find, I would be willing to bet my nice CU hoodie right here that, that you can find film of every player on the roster of any team that you close your eyes and pick in college football, and say that, he might be dogging it on this play, or he might be not hustling on this play. Now, having said that, for the higher rated players, for the best players in college football, you're going to see less of those players that plays than what you would see out of other players in college football, right? Or lesser players in college football. To a point to what you said and what I said also in the past, you have to look at the whole picture of this, the context of this. What was their rotation like? What was the depth like? Would that be the case at CU? I don't think so. I think they're going to have depth to where this guy knows that he got one series or 1 to 2 plays, 3 plays, whatever the rotation is, to go after it. And he's going to have somebody come in after him that's going to be just as good or play just as hard as he would. If you find some plays where somebody is loafing or not finishing a play, let's look at what happened the plays previous. Was he loafing on those plays, or was he going hard those 4 plays? And then now here's the 5th play when usually a D lineman could be subbed out or whatever, but now he might go hard and then the play goes away from him, and now he's jogging, understanding that that play is out of my range. You know, I still would say every player should be jogging after the play, but you're going to find on every football film, ask Coach Sapp, somebody's going to be jogging not full speed after the play. And if you want to critique that and break that down and find plays of the kid doing that after a Hall of Famer has praised him, after Coach Prime has called him a pro, after PFF have gave him a pro football grade, after he's been rated as a draft pick, if someone want to nitpick and find those plays, go ahead, because you can find those plays in each and every player that you're looking at. Another example that I think of, this came to my head, was the defensive end who played with the 49ers that got traded to the 49ers from the Redskins, or the Commanders, played at Ohio State. Chase Young is his name. Man, it was so many plays last year that I saw where I felt like he was loafing on the play. Why is he not going hard? Well, he just got a new contract, didn't he? You know, so obviously they're grading him on something other than those plays right there. So for someone to be trying to pull up and badmouth BJ or anybody saying that he doesn't hustle or he doesn't do this, well, if you could show me that on play 1, play 2, play 3, and play 4, so to speak, then I'll believe that's the player he is. But if you're going to show me that on play 5, after he just got a sack, he made a play, or he's hustling here, or now when he's supposed to have a break, he might take a little time off, and you want to judge him on that, then go ahead. You know, that's on you guys. But my evaluation says that the guy's going to be one of the leaders on this defensive line. He can play from outside to inside, over the guard to over the tackle. He could pass rush. He could be the leader in this NASCAR defensive front. Okunlola can play also. Hayes can play also. We got a few other pass rushers out there. So I think what he's going to bring, that tenacity, is that leadership, being a senior, is going to be key for this defense to do what they want to do this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm looking at the depth of that edge spot, and it's like, man, Arden Walker, Tajay McCoy, Quincy Wiggins, all these guys, and like
Keith Wade.
There's good rotation, and I'm with you. Like, are those loafing plays the 5th, 6th play in a row that he's been on the field? And I think at CU he may not have that situation where he's on there for a 5th, 6th play in a row, because exactly. All right, BJ, you just played 3 good plays. Arden, you're in there now, or Okunlola, you're in there now. So, and I haven't seen, admittedly, I haven't seen BJ Green enough consistently because he hasn't been a Buff to really judge in that regard. I'll wait until the season, but I just know what I see on the roster, and I think they're going to have a good enough rotation and depth to where he's not going to have much chance to be a loafer. Exactly.
Well, I mean, you can't be a loafer if you know someone's coming behind you 100%, giving it all. And you've seen him at practice. You know that, hey, man, I don't want Arden Walker to get on the field behind me, because I know he's going to come with it. So every play I'm out there, I have to come with it. And that's just the mentality of playing on a team that has a lot of talent on it in depth. And that's what's going to be bred in this summer. And that's what they're finding out right now. We got a lot of dogs over here. Anytime an athlete, a high caliber athlete, not just any athlete, a high caliber athlete, a Division I athlete, I would say, or someone who has pro aspirations, coming to a situation where they see other guys on that level, or better, they're going to up their game.
Right.
They're going to say, I'll never forget coming from a small town playing football, knowing that I was one of the best there. And then you go to the Georgia camp and you're like, oh, damn, he's a dog. He's a dog. Oh, look at – oh, damn. Is that Kellen Winslow the second walking in here looking like a Clydesdale? Oh, my gosh. Yeah. How am I going to make myself notice? How am I going to get notice out here amongst these guys? I got to step my game up. Simple as that. And, but shout out to BJ Green. What I think he can bring is, like I said, is being that leader on the defensive line and be in a position where he can lead this team in sacks, hurries, and QB hits at the end of the day. So shouts out to him and the whole defensive line out there. Let me see. Any other questions we got? I think I highlighted a couple of other in the chats.
I did see one from Miss Mel. She was asking about when does fall camp start.
There we go.
I don't know the answer. We have not been told, But what I will say is it's probably going to be late July. It's typically about 30 days before the first game, and the first game is August 29th. So look for that to be that last week of July, probably around the 28th, 29th.
Yeah, coming up real soon. It'll be here before you know it. So
Yep.
we're going to keep updating you guys each and every week, at least where we can, myself and Brian. Also, you can check out myself and Adam. Brian and Adam also doing their thing. So we're going to keep you guys updated around the clock of what's going on from our perspective. King David chimed in. Winning will cure all, but him saying make sure versus y'all have to attend a concert is different, but just waiting on the season. I don't even think he said make sure y'all there. Like, why would all right, man, we off that subject.
Yeah, I could even see, where, you kind of say, hey, make sure you guys go, because it's going to be a fun time, not like any sort of mandatory, but hey, we got this cool thing going, make sure you're there,
come show support, or make sure y'all just don't be sitting at home, come through, and we got a lot of fun stuff going on out here. So
yeah,
I can't see where it's being mandatory. I've never been a part of something that an extracurricular activity like that at nighttime would be mandatory, unless like we're there hosting it, or we're there being an usher or serving food or something like that.
Right.
Which I didn't see going on.
Well, and I can't imagine a situation where, a college football coach, Division I college football coach, is going to cut a player who did not go to a concert.
Man, that's crazy.
Hey, you're second on the depth chart. You're one of our top guys, but you didn't go to the Lil Wayne concert. So sorry, you're out of here.
Yeah, so y'all can kill that noise. We ain't even rocking with that. Shout out to Chief Rocker from Jersey Vern. This will be a Jackson State type year with the players they picked up now. I think he was referring to that second year at Jackson State after that spring season for Coach Prime, where he saw what he had, in the cupboard, so to speak, and then bam, he go adds the players that he need to add to the roster to really go up and go undefeated in conference play. I don't know if we can go undefeated in conference play just off the top. I don't know if I would say that, but in my mind, if I was a part of this team, if I was a part of the coaching staff, I would definitely be preaching that, we're coming to run through the Big 12. We're coming to run through whoever's in our path, starting with that first game at North Dakota or with North Dakota State. They're going to come here playing in their Super Bowl. We got to be ready for it, first of all. So that's what we're preparing for now. And I think we have as it's been noted that this has been the second straight semester where you had the highest GPA ever on the football team or in athletics period. But having said that, when you have those high GPAs, those high intellectual type players, then you're going to have less penalties, less bust, and you're going to have guys who understand the urgency and what's going on right now. We have to get this team together. So that's when these leaders will emerge, and they'll understand the urgency that's behind the summer workouts and the bonding right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I don't see it as a Jackson State type of year as far as record wise, and that, I think the competition is going to be better for CU than it was for Jackson State then. I think that the gap from Jackson State's talent to their schedule was bigger than what it is with Colorado. I think Colorado's actually going to play some teams that might have a better roster than them. Doesn't mean they can't beat them, but I think Colorado's going to have a good year and can make some noise. And I think that they've got a shot to have a Jackson State type of year where you're in the running for that conference title. And I think that's what he's talking about. Is that they're going to be an exciting brand of football. I think they're going to put up some good numbers offensively, and if you can play some good defense, you're going to win a lot of football games. And so I think the potential is there for sure.
Definitely. If you believe, put I believe in the chat and let me know. If you believe, put I believe in the chat. Also put your record predictions in the chat. What you think is going to happen. What do y'all think the final score of the first game will be versus North Dakota State, who has a pretty good football team? Then we got to follow that up with Nebraska and Colorado State. 3 tough, emotional type matchups that's going to be going on, whether it's from North Dakota State side or our side or both sides, going back at it with the 2 rivalry games. But North Dakota State, like I said, has something to say, has something to prove. So we're going to have to be on our A game.
Yeah. And I will say, going back to Chief Rocca's comment, that if Shadur Sanders puts up the type of numbers he put up at Jackson State, then I think they can have a Jackson State type of year. And I think he can. I think he can do that. I think that's the
Well,
key is
well,
what
that's like.
he's going to do.
Well, I think that's saying pretty much he have a season like last year, right? Because those numbers was just as comparable to Jackson State.
Well, they were similar, but I think he threw 28 touchdowns last year. I think it was 40 at Jackson State, and so if he's throwing 40 touchdown passes this year, I think that certainly they're a much better offense. They're going to outscore a lot of teams, and so last year was not quite a Jackson State season for him numbers wise. But the competition was better last year too. So I don't think he dropped off. It's just that the competition was a little bit better.
Let me see. I'll tell you what he did improve on. He went from 8 interceptions his first year at Jackson State, dropped down to 6. And then although he upped the level in competition, he only threw 3 interceptions last year, which I think was phenomenal.
Yeah.
On that level. The numbers are comparable, I think, right here, 69%. That's second highest he's ever thrown for. 1 off the yardage mark. That second year at Jackson State was off the meat rack as he had 3,700 yards, 40 touchdowns. Can he double up or at least add another third of touchdowns to his record, to his stats last year, and keep those interceptions down there? I think that's going to be hard to do right there. I'm not saying he can't do it, but any quarterback coming off a 3-pick season, dog, if you double that up and come back next year and I'll say, if you have 6 or less, that's amazing.
Yeah,
for a college quarterback.
And I'll take double the interceptions if he can add another 10 touchdown passes. Because usually you look at Shador's interceptions, and a lot of times, he comes back from those. Now, one of them was the end of that Stanford game, and we've talked about that play. Obviously, busted. You had 2 receivers who ran into each other, and Shadur kind of heaved it up there. And Coach Primus said he probably shouldn't have thrown that ball, but so he didn't have a chance to come back from that one. But I think Shadur is so smart with the ball that I see him having 6 or fewer interceptions again. And he's certainly got the ability to get up to 35, 40 touchdowns. So if he's doing that and he's approaching 4,000 yards passing, 3,700 yards like he had in 2022, I think that they can have a very good year. And offensively, they're going to be really fun to watch.
Man, that's huge. And if he start off that first game like he did last year, that first game versus TCU, that'll be much needed, versus North Dakota State, and just to set the tone for the rest of the season. So 151.7 rating. I mean, he doesn't get too much higher than that. Had 160.4. If Shadur, I say, man, anywhere in between these marks, I'll be happy with. But like you said, if we're at 37 touchdowns and 6 interceptions at the end of the year, I wouldn't be mad at that either.
Yeah, I mean, those are numbers that could get you to New York, and they're going to get you, in that first round, couple of picks of the NFL draft next year as well. So it's interesting. Look at that. The rating is the exact same. First year at Jackson State, first year at Colorado. And so if he takes that same 9-point bump in rating this year, they're going to be pretty good.
Big time. Great that you noticed that right there. So Shadur Sanders, man. Hey, he has the receivers to do it this year. He has the offensive line. I doubt if he'll be the most sacked quarterback in the college football this year, with the new revamped offensive line, which we could talk about a little bit. Let's see here. The offensive line right now, just off the top, if we're thinking about them, the starters and the guys who will be protecting Shadur Sanders, and you just go from left to right, first string, let's just say Jordan Seaton, Justin Mayers, Hank Zielinskis, Tyler Brown, and Khalil Benson, right? Well, you're still leaving off a guy like Tyler Johnson, who was rated the highest offensive lineman that we brought in last season. But how is he going to break into that lineup if Tyler Brown and Justin Mayers, who has a jump on him since Johnson had to deal with the injury during the spring, now Mayers and Brown has a jump on him. How is he going to overtake one of those guys? What is it going to take for him to do that?
Yeah, and there's even more guys than that. I mean, Wyatt
Yep.
Hummel comes in from Villanova, who was
Wyatt Humble.
a starter. You know, you have Yakiri Walker was a starting center at UConn, and you have other guys that were starters other places. And so I like the depth of this line, and that's where I think this team can take that next step. Is that that depth is going to we know that starting group you just mentioned is what CU ended the spring with, but they've got a full fall camp to where those guys can compete more. And a guy like Tyler Johnson is going to push for a starting job. He's not sitting back and saying, "All right, I'm a second stringer." He's going into, I was going to say August, but he's going into June, thinking, "No, I'm going to be a starter." And so is Philip Houston and Wyatt Hummel and all those guys. And so Zach Owens and Peyton Kirkland are coming in here from
exactly
Clemson and Texas that they weren't playing last year. They're going to want to play this year too. So and they're big guys. So I like this offensive line in the competition. I think this fall is going to be really fun to watch. We don't get to obviously watch practice, but I'm curious to see what well-off shows about those offensive line competitions in the fall once they get the pads on, because I think that's going to be a fun group to watch and see how that unfolds.
So far, we've seen on the one-on-ones, even though it's without pads, but it still shows that footwork, that aggressiveness, that hand placement for the offensive and defensive line. And what we've been looking at looks like big Zach Owens, the big young fella came out of Clemson, has been looking pretty good at both guard positions when he's been working, going against seniors like Shane Coates and whoever. He's still been holding his own. And I see a lot of people been rooting for big Zach Owens. To push to try to get on the field this year.
Yeah, there's some big guys, and I'll tell you this: when I was at Truck Ranch, I chatted with Shadur briefly, and he told me, he goes, we have some guys this year, and I said, much better than last year. He goes, I'm telling you, we have some guys this year, and so the confidence of Shadur, he's always confident. We know that, but the way I wasn't interviewing him, didn't have a microphone in front of him, but what he was telling me, the way he was speaking, like he feels really good about what he's got around him this year.
Right. And I'd feel good too with the way these guys came in, their attitude, led by Khalil Benson and Justin Mayers. I'd be very happy about that too. And then the emergence of Hank Zielinski, as we saw last year, the true freshman. Now he's a true sophomore out of Cherry Creek. I'm happy to see him really working, and he's going against an experienced guy like Yakiri Walker, who started at UConn last year. To hold his own, 6'3", 285 pounds. I think he's around 290 now. Hank Zielinski, can he? I don't want to say the weak link, but can he possibly be, if he? Let me schedule this right. Let me say this the correct way, because I like Hank and I like what he can bring. I think he's a leader. I think he's strong. He's tough up the middle. But let's say if Mayers is playing well, if Brown is playing well, but you see Tyler Johnson is in the fold, is there a way that you could see maybe Tyler Johnson or Tyler Brown playing the center position, and now you got Brown, Johnson, and Mayers on the field at the same time? Or Yakiri Walker, will he really jump up and possibly be there? But it's a lot of depth on the offensive line. So I'm just asking about these rotation type questions,
Yeah, I think, I don't know because I haven't played quarterback, but I would think that center quarterback relationship is sort of like the pitcher and catcher. A pitcher has a certain catcher he likes to throw to sometimes. And if you remember, like Greg Maddox, he always liked to throw. Javi Lopez was the Braves catcher.
Javier Lopez, there you go.
But if you remember,
but
it was the other guy. I think it was like Eddie Perez or something like that.
No. Oh, gosh.
Do you remember his name?
Gosh, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm not calling his name right now, man. My Braves fans, people will be mad at me right now because I know him.
Well, so you remember that,
like,
when Greg Maddox would pitch, it was not Javi Lopez, and because he likes somebody else. And so, from what we're hearing, Shadur has spoken highly of Hank Zielinski. I think it's comfort. If Shadur is comfortable with Hank Zielinski, I'm not sure he's going to want to mess that up just because you have some guy that's pushing at guard. I think that he's going to stick with Hank because he's comfortable with how Hank snaps. They know each other's cadence, things like that. That's what I would think.
Eddie Perez. You were correct. You were correct. Eddie Perez was his name. Was the catcher that was behind the plate more frequently than any other catcher when Greg Maddux was on the mound. He
Yeah.
had the pleasure of catching 121 of the 744 games pitched by the legendary right-hander Greg Maddux. Shouts
There we
out to
go.
the whole Braves. I used to be one of those little kids that was watching TBS back in the day.
Oh yeah, that was my team.
Yes, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, and Steve Avery were the guys back then. Early when, I feel old now. I watched Chipper Jones come into the league. You know,
I'm even older than you. I was a Braves fan back in the '80s when they were terrible.
Oh damn! Back with Dale Murphy days, huh?
Dale Murphy was my guy as a little kid. Bob Horner and Bruce Benedict, guys like that. So yeah, I'm even older than you.
Yeah, for sure. But I remember reading the book back in the day, Hank Aaron's book, and hearing about the Milwaukee Braves and all those things, and hearing about the things that he had to overcome and go through. So, man, yeah, I've been a Braves fan for a long time. David Justice, Sid Breen, Fred McGriff, Otis Nixon, Terry Pendleton, and Coach Prime Deion Sanders, of course.
That's right.
I can just name it on and on.
It's funny. I just saw a highlight of you remember the famous play where the Braves beat the Pirates with Sid Bream sliding into home.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were showing it, and there was Coach Prime on the bench, or he was leaning over the fence at the dugout because he was not batting.
Right.
And I forgot he was on that team, and so
he
was a part of one of the famous games in Braves history. So
Francisco Cabrera.
That's
Shouts
right.
out to Francisco Cabrera. Andrew Jones. Mark Lemke was the second baseman.
Yeah.
Jeff Blauser was my guy.
Yeah.
Man, you taking me back to the old school, man. If anybody know about TBS Braves baseball back in the day, y'all let me know. That's how I also
Ron Gant. Remember Ron Gant?
Oh, I can't believe I ain't called my guy Ron Gant. Oh,
one of the most stacked guys that's ever played baseball.
Yes. He was the first one that made me cut my sleeves off in baseball and try to get some muscles.
Yeah.
I knew what hey, peep this, guys. I knew what a forearm was because of how Ron Gant used to come up there and bat. I used to say, damn, what is that muscle right there? That's a forearm muscle. I knew that from Ron Gant. Had the biggest forearms in baseball, baby.
That's right.
Hey,
that's awesome.
We could talk some back in the day stuff all day. Matter of fact, if you watched baseball during those times, the Braves during those times, you had to watch wrestling during the WCW wrestling or NWA wrestling. You had to watch wrestling. It came on right at the same time. It seemed like so.
Yeah.
Shout out, Ric Flair was my guy, and the Rock and Roll Express and all those guys back in the day, man. So wrestling was big in the South during that time, along with the Braves.
Which also goes to this team because you have Bill Goldberg's son on this team. And so you have that wrestling connection and the Braves connection on this team at once with Deion Sanders and Gage Goldberg. So,
and you saw Coach Prime praising Goldberg about how he used to have him going against anybody in the locker room. Anybody want Goldberg? Anybody want Goldberg? Everybody put their head down.
Yeah. I did an interview with Goldberg and his son this summer or this spring when he committed, and he was telling me that story, and he was like, I was his personal protector. It was like, hey, anytime they did wrestling matches, like Goldberg's going to wrestle for Deion. Like, I'm not doing that.
That's crazy how things were so long ago, but yet people were still the same. You still got Deion, riling things up in the locker room. Just being Coach Prime, being who he is, and Goldberg was that guy wrestling in the locker room even before he became a wrestler. I've heard similar stories like that about The Rock, who eventually became a wrestler also. So, man, I honestly, I think I missed my calling, brother. I missed my calling, man.
Well, when I did that interview, I joked with Goldberg. I said, "Are you going to be on the sidelines this year?" And he goes, "What do you think?" "Of course I am." And I said, "Between you and The Rock, CU's going to have the toughest sideline in the country." And he goes, "Oh, there's no doubt."
Oh, no doubt, dog. No doubt. Who's going to come mess with CU when they got those two guys on the side?
I hope there's a game where The Rock and Goldberg are on the sideline at the same time.
Classic right there. Classic. Yes, indeed. Hey, anybody in the chat, y'all let me know what y'all thinking right now. We went longer than what we thought we were, so we'll stay on for a couple of more minutes just to ask a few questions or answer a few questions and go from there. Let me see. Colorado would beat North Dakota by 21, lose to Nebraska by 10 points plus, and Colorado State would be close. See if Colorado can recover after a loss will determine if Colorado will be relevant this season. Big Mike said that. Shout out to Mike for checking in. What you think about that comment from Mike?
Yeah, I could see that situation happening. I think the big question mark, I can, in that I will say this. I've been to Nebraska. I've covered 2 CU games at Nebraska, and that place is insane. That's an environment that a lot of these players for Colorado have not been in yet. Folsom Field is one thing. When you're the home team, it's exciting there, but when you go on the road, that's a tough environment. I think the big question mark there is, Nebraska's probably going to have Dylan Raiola, the true freshman quarterback, playing only his second game. How good is he out of the gate? If he's a 5-star looking legit, then yeah, they can win that thing. But if he's going to be a regular freshman and struggle a little bit out of the gates, Colorado wins that game.
Yeah, Dylan can play. He can play, but can he sustain? Will he have the talent? Excuse me. We have the talent around him to, to compete with Colorado and get the win. What we saw last year, I think the difference was last year were those turnovers from the quarterback position, and putting the ball on the ground. So, is that defense going to come back just as good? That defensive line, what are they bringing back? How, any updates? Matter of fact, let me ask you on this, because I know that you're doing previews of the schedule and the teams that we're playing. What can you tell us about Nebraska that we should, Colorado should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, first off, is that quarterback? I mean, is he that good? And with Mike's comment there, I agree with him. Nebraska can have a good season. They get Ohio State, but they don't have to play Michigan and a couple of the others. They were 5-7 last year, but they lost 5 or 6 games by 1 score. And so they can turn that around. I mean, I think CU was the only team that blew them out last year, and they want the Buffs more than anybody. I mean, they're going to be locked and loaded. Fan base, team, everything for Colorado's visit, and so I think they're good. They got some running backs back from last year. They added a top receiver from Wake Forest. They got some good receivers, but not great. They return a lot of their offensive line. They got a lot of guys back from a defense that was top 15 in the country in scoring and yards allowed. So I think they're going to be a tough matchup for the Buffs, but I still think Colorado's going to have the edge at quarterback that day. And, even if Raiola eventually is really good, that day Colorado's going to have the edge.
Yeah. I think the quarterback play will be the difference, just like in most games. The talent on the field that Colorado has added, I think, is an upgrade from what they had last year.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be on my end, which I haven't really dug into, the adage of or Nebraska. What have they brought over? How many good players have they added? How many have they retained? I see that they're saying in the chat right now that they've kept most of their team, and they're going to be ready to play, which I think they will be. At Lincoln is going to be going crazy there. They brought a lot of fans to Folsom, so you can imagine how it's going to be there in their home stadium. But overall,
it's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's going to be crazy.
It's a crazy environment, and they're right. I mean, Nebraska only lost about 10 guys to the portal, and they were all backups, and brought in some good guys. And Nebraska was not as bad last year as they looked in Boulder. To your point, there was a lot, and the quarterback Sims just had a horrible day and couldn't hold on to the ball. They're not as bad as they were that day. They're more talented last year than what they showed in Boulder. I think they're really. I don't know if they're a really good team yet, but they're a good team. I think that's a bowl team. And so that's a really good win if Colorado can go into Lincoln and get it, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, that's a huge win if the Buffs can go in there and get that win for the morale of the whole team. Looking forward for the whole team kind of gives us, a kind of if we lose later in the season, it's better rather than taking that loss earlier in the season. So let me see. I think if we're playing this year, and this is going to be my opinion off the top right now, if we're playing this year out there in Lincoln and it's super crazy, going wild weather, let's say the weather is perfect, though. That's one caveat. That's one thing that could change everything. Let's say the weather is perfect, and we bring in the team there, and, of course, they're going to be ready to play. I just feel like that passing game with Shadur Sanders and the offensive line improved. Can Nebraska's defensive secondary hold up to that? We saw them get burned last year. We saw Shadur throwing that thing last year now. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I was at the game and I watched it. But he was throwing the ball over the field. I don't think the DBs back there can stay with our receivers for 4 quarters. That might be the difference in the game, along with the offensive line holding up and not letting the defensive front of Nebraska, which is pretty good, get to Shadur and rattle him, which is going to be hard to do anyway. No matter where they're playing at, Shadur is going to be focused, and I think he has some players, even though they might not have played at Lincoln, they've played some big-time football in some big-time college football stadiums to where they can understand and be ready for what's going to happen at Nebraska.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Nebraska is a team that I would much rather see week 2 than week 10, 11, 12. I think Nebraska could be a pretty good team by November.
Good point.
I think you're getting them at the right time. The freshman quarterback making it just his second start. I think they're getting him at the right time. I do think Colorado goes in there and gets a win, but it's not going to be easy. I could see that being a 21-17, win or something like that. Or, I think it's going to be a 1-score game.
Well, we're going to have to stop the run versus Nebraska versus anybody. We're going to have to stop the run. That's going to be on the defensive coordinator. Always going to be on us to run the football. We saw in the Well Off Media videos today as we get ready to close out, guys. We saw in the Well Off Media video today talking about the running backs, Michael Welch, Brandon Hood. You saw Hayden in there and talking about how fast they are. Everybody's fast. We don't have any slow runners right here. So if those guys can be a running back by committee and really be productive, and Shadur does his thing, offensive line is there, we keep the ball out of any of the opposing quarterback's hands as much as we can. That's the recipe for winning this season. And stopping and run, that defensive front rotating. We got some big guys in there now. We didn't have the 6'5", 320 guy that we wanted to get, but we got a bunch of 285s and 310 guys that can really play and can really get after it. So I think that's going to be the key for this season, running the football on both sides and then just letting Shadur and the offense do their thing at the end of the day. And we should be able to go into Nebraska and get a win that first road game and then piggyback off of that going into Colorado State.
Yeah, I agree with you. If they're 2-0, I don't think they're losing in Fort Collins.
Nah, not at all.
I don't think they're losing in Fort Collins either way.
There you go. That's what I was about to
say. If they're 2-0, they're absolutely not losing in Fort Collins.
Right. But you know what? Either way it go, though, you still have to watch out for any slip-ups up there because that could be a trap game. That wide receiver Horton that they have is really good. Yeah. From what I saw, if that quarterback is returning, he's really good. Yeah. From what I saw, I bet you going into that stadium is going to be a show. Fans going crazy. You might see a couple moons, if you know what I mean, and a couple of other fingers than this going up at the bus. So get ready for that crazy atmosphere. Those first 2 road games for the Buffs, and we'll talk about more on these upcoming episodes as we're going to continue to produce them for you guys. Hit the like, subscribe, comment. Let us know in the chat what we should be talking about and what your thoughts on this, and we'll move forward for more shows in the future. Find Brian where? At
Brian Howell 33 on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, and also buffzone.com.
Buffzone.com. Y'all check that out. Find me, BiggDogg Chico, anywhere on the internet. Also, check us out on Facebook, man. We're like 16,000 strong on Facebook right now. And we share some Buff Zone content and some Buff Stampede content on there. All type of sports stuff. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're going to keep hitting y'all across the head with this Buff Time podcast. All right? Let me know what y'all think. Hit the like, subscribe, comment, all the other good stuff. We're going to be up and about this thing. Peace in the Middle East. Yeah.
See ya.